Hey Nick, Joe Bongiovanni here in Harborton, Virginia. I just wanted to have a little comment on your Sunday. Happy Sunday um, here. Uh, Geithner's commentary, Geithner's statement. Bernanke's statement. The Donald Cohn's statement, Janet Yellen's statement. They're all pretty much exactly the same, which is to say, if you really, first of all, if you really look into the statement, not the part that they give out for the sound bites for the scribes, and the scribes are doing a great job of describing just exactly what the sound bite is. So the sound bite is actually things are either doing better than we expected, if you can imagine that they're doing better than we expected, or there are things are looking up. But if you really look inside the actual statements that are made, you find that there's a great deal of contradiction with the part that the scribes are putting out front. I mean, to me, it's just part of the big propaganda machine, and they need a big propaganda machine right now. Because why? Because you're exactly right. We are at one of those points of the failure with the failure of the system. Now, you've made a comment several times about, well, I'm not exactly sure why the system's failing, but I can see that it is, and I don't know when it will, but I know that it will, and I don't know how it will, but geez, hang on. Everybody needs to do what they need to do to survive. Uh, I had in a previous video comment, I'm not sure that it actually got posted, Nick, put readers onto the paper by financial linguist Stephen LaChance at Financial Sense University, because I want to just quickly grab it for a second. I want to try to read a bit of it, because the title of it is How Debt Money Goes Broke. So the first thing that I want to say, Nick, is let's get the big picture in here, okay? The big picture is that the global economy, since Bretton Woods 1, has been running on the fractional reserve debt money system of private banking, with private central banks of all these countries um, managing the economies of all these countries, and especially the financial economies of all these countries, since 1944, as a debt money system. Okay, meaning all money that is going to be used to develop the economy of the world from now on is going to be created as a debt, all of it, and perhaps at some time there will be a price to pay for that. But for right now, and especially for the people that are doing the creating, things are looking pretty good. So the system's going to crash. What system's going to crash? It's going to be the debt money system that crashes. Okay. And Steve LaChance wrote this paper, and I don't agree with everything my detail that's in this paper, but he wrote this paper about how much debt we have, and where it comes from, and where it goes. But he also got into a little bit about how does it end? How debt money goes broke? How does it end? Just a real brief paragraph. A debt-based monetary system has a lifespan limiting Achilles heel. As debt is created through loan origination, an obligation above and beyond this sum is also created in the form of interest. As a result, there can never be enough money to repay principal and pay interest unless debt is continually expanded. That's part of the zeitgeist thing, I know. Debt-based monetary systems do not work in reverse, nor can they stand still without a liquidity buffer in the form of savings or a current account surplus. We're taking so much money out of the taxpayers that we actually have current account surpluses. And also foreign trade current account surpluses help. And by the way, that's why when you hear a lot about, we finance this growth by foreign investment. Yeah. There's more money coming back in here. So that's what he says about it. When debt grows faster than the economy, the burden of interest is bearable only so long as the rate of interest is falling. When the rate of interest reverses course, paying attention, interest charges start rising faster than debt growth. Da 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 da. He talks about some of the things that you can do to build up things that get in the way and to extend the cliff, by the way, which is kind of obvious. Then he says this. Aside from a dearth of domestic savings, now remember this was written back several years ago, America's vulnerability is compounded by a current accounts deficit. There is no buffer and no margin for effort. No margin of error. Thus, when interest rate charges overtake annual debt growth, interest charges overtake annual debt growth being money supply growth, liquidation will immediately trigger cascading cross defaults. Without domestic savings to mobilize, the Fed cannot facilitate the expansion of government debt to fill the breach and simultaneously hold down interest rates. It cannot win the battle to keep debt growth greater than the interest charges. The precondition for the viability of a debt-based monetary system, once started, cascading cross defaults consume all debt within an economy. Once started, cascading cross defaults consume all debt within an economy. The Fed has only two options. Institute a new monetary system, he says, with a new currency, or return monetary authority to the market and shut down. And there goes your sovereignty. Okay? Now, having said that, what we talk about at economicstability.org is the new monetary system. Okay? We don't necessarily believe that we need a new currency, although a new currency is just calling the money a new name. But the fact is, we know that this system is doomed to fail, and we need an honest, people's controlled money system. And this is where we and the Austrians and libertarians agree. That is to say, A, fractional reserve banking is a fraud and a Ponzi scheme, and people ought to go to jail, but the problem is we've legalized it. Because we've legalized it, we really can't put them in jail for using it. And besides, quite frankly, most of the bankers are just using the system that's been laid out to them. And they're running as fast as they can on that treadmill to keep that system going. So it's not necessarily the bankers' fault themselves. It's the design of the system. So we need to have a new money system. That's the gist of it. If we're not talking about a new money system, then we're kind of just talking about how to help each other to get into the rat hole that we're going to get into, and wait until this thing blows over. 5 or 10 years which is what it's going to take, because there's too much debt out there. So, either way, quite frankly, it'll take 5 years to fix it, no matter what. But it might be a lot more comfortable for the average American if we're in charge of what happens. Yes, government control of the money system, like the Constitution provides. That's what we're calling for. And the sooner we really start to talk about that loud and clear, the better off we're going to be. Thanks, Nick.